weekend.
Fantastic. Go for it. Let me know how it is.
I will definitely do that, sir. I will definitely do that.
Fantastic.
Oh, got a little echo going. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm just popping out the YouTube chat here. We are doing a question and answer session today. Let me say ask questions in the YouTube chat. Any topic is welcome, any SEO questions. As always, whatever secrets we have, we'll try to be as open and clear as possible. So whatever you want to know, with the exceptions of I'm not sharing my SEO spring training info until SEO spring training. So hopefully we'll see you there for that. And I obviously can't share other people's secrets. So it has to be my own secret to share. Otherwise, I can't share. Oh, and we have Clint and Carolyn joining. Woohoo. So we have a full team for our Q&A session today. I wanted to kick things off talking about Black Friday because I'm feeling like my prediction didn't come true. So I'd love to get other people's opinions on this. But I was predicting that Google was going to pull the lever exceptionally hard on small and medium-sized businesses. And to me, so far, it actually feels lighter than it's been the past 2 or 3 years, which I honestly find surprising. And if it's true, if it's actually the case, then it's actually Google being decent. And so, Clint, what are you seeing? What do you think?
I think you're giving them too much credit. Based on their release dates, I would look 29th to the 9th of December. Watch those times.
Okay.
And then
All right.
if you get past the 9th of December, then yeah, you can call them nicer this year.
All right. But I'm just saying that normally, leading into Black Friday, that's typically when we feel the hurt locker.
Yeah.
And so if anything, it's at least a little late if it's still coming.
Yeah, I would think that the pre updates that happen before they do the announcements would start kicking in here soon. I am surprised I haven't done them yet.
Yeah. What do you think, Lee?
Well, I went on the record saying I thought both you guys were wrong. It was going to happen earlier this year. So my target date was sort of the end of October. As we were seeing some of the volatility things pop up there that made me think that, hey, they're gonna unleash the Kraken a little early this year. But I was clearly wrong.
So, we admit when we're wrong, but like Clint said, it's not over until it's over. So, let's see how the rest of the season unfurls. But so far, it's not looking good for my prediction, which is actually good news for everyone. Because if I was right, then everyone would be in a lot of pain and misery for this Q4. And I'm happy to be wrong on that. But let's see. It's not over yet. It's just not looking good for those predictions, which, we'll see. So like Clint said, I'm giving Google way too much credit here, and it's not over yet. So
yeah, sounds a lot like coach speak. It's like the first half, we played a solid first half, but they're a good opponent. We're going to have to play the full 4 quarters and see what happens, in the second half in order to come out victorious. So,
yep. Yeah. And so, we'll have to see. But so far, it's looking good for website owners and small businesses and medium businesses. So, I'm hopeful for Black Friday. But yeah, there is a possibility that, Google could be kind for Black Friday and Cyber Monday and then pull hard for the rest of the holiday season. That who knows? We'll have to see. So, really the time to, call what happened will be on December 26th. Because that's when you'll know with absolute certainty what happened for the holiday spending season. So right now we're still predicting, but initial predictions, not quite what we thought was going to happen so far, but we'll see. All right. Another interesting thing that came out there was a search engine roundtable article talking about the last of the mobile first indexing migration is supposed to happen soon. And I just want to point out that, that's been happening for 6 years. So when Google makes a feature that affects all websites, like, let's do mobile first indexing, that doesn't happen in a month. That's been ongoing for 6 years and it still isn't done. And so it speaks to the nature of how big it is to fundamentally change something at Google, when something like, just switching from desktop first to mobile first indexing is such a massive migration that it takes 6 years to do. And when we talk about Google having these fundamental superpowers of, they're reading all the text on your page and they're doing AI analysis to find out if you made a truthy point in paragraph 2. Fundamental change like that is harder than mobile first indexing. And they couldn't do mobile first indexing in less than 6 years. So I like to point these things out because they kind of show the nature of the beast. Like, they don't move quickly, and it's hard to move quickly when it involves reprocessing hundreds of trillions of web pages. Like, that's a difficult thing to do that you don't do in a week. And so what do you think, Lee?
Well, I talked a little bit about we've thought for a while that Google's having trouble with scale. And then if you have to go back and reprocess stuff, either because you make a mistake or you make a change or whatever, that just exacerbates the problem. And I think it's interesting because I had no idea that this shift has taken 6 years, and it may have rolled out in phases, and one of the final phases is now just, rolling into it, but it does speak to the size of the operation and all that has to go into it. And so they don't just announce on a Monday that they're going to do something and Tuesday it's complete. Even if they say we're done with this particular update, it still can take months for the full implementation to hit.
Yeah, very true. Like they said, helpful content update would roll out over a course of months, and it would build a cumulative score for the website. But yet, the day it released, everybody was claiming, oh, instant impact. Well, maybe, but it's really hard to tell. Was it helpful content update that hit you? Because I had a website that took a ranking loss right on the helpful content update, but turns out the ranking loss wasn't due to the update. It was due to press release links basically having decay, and a large portion of them fell off at the same time. So I lost links and my ranking went down. That wasn't helpful content update. That was a coincidence. And so, I wonder how many things get labeled as, update calamity when they're actually just coincidental timing.
Depends if it was positive or negative impact on your SEO or not.
Yeah.
If it was negative, it was Google that did it. If it was positive, no, it wasn't the update. It was my good SEO.
Yeah, very true. So rosy goggles. So Lee, you mentioned you might have a topic you wanted to talk about too.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is there have been a number of stories recently that are talking about different things going on at Google. And I think there was one that was released either yesterday, I think, that talked about certain algorithms that have parts of the algorithm that have been retired and replaced with others, which is interesting for Google to talk publicly about. We don't do that anymore. I'm anxious to see what the SEO community does with that. Whether they still believe that those things are implemented, because some of them, we've known from testing that they don't do those things anymore. They don't penalize certain behaviors anymore because we see them ranking, the top of the SERPs. So I think that's one of the ones that I'm curious about to see if the SEO community takes that and views it as truthful and updates their narrative about what's going on with the algorithm.
Yeah, one of the systems they mentioned was the page speed system, and that portion was retired. And I thought that was interesting because that's testable. Like, you can throttle your network and see if you get different results, or you can try from your cell phone versus a broadband connection, see if you get different results. And I did some of that testing to see if I could find an example that was clearly filtering based on page speed, and I couldn't. And so historically, I used to talk about page speed being a filter. I would mention how Google would take slower websites out of the search for somebody standing at the bus stop or riding on the ferry. And that does not appear to be the case with my testing as of this morning. So it could be that system is actually no longer in place. And, that's kind of an interesting thing, because it probably means that it affected the quality of search results in a negative way when they played that game. Like, they took less relevant websites out of search, and people couldn't intuitively understand why those relevant sources were disappearing. And so, it's interesting to me that there might be some knowledge in that list, and things to go back and retest in that list specifically. And so, yeah, page speed was one for sure. What stood out to you in that list?
They're talking about I think it was like Panda and Penguin had been retired, and just some of the things like the page speed. They're saying, hey, this isn't there anymore. And because, I don't know, it hasn't been more than 48 hours since I've seen or read articles that talk about, hey, you should do this because otherwise Google's going to get you, and Google hasn't been getting you for these sort of things for a while. So I'm always intrigued by how the pronouncements by Google roll into people's thought processes, or whether we're still going to be talking 6 months from now about how you need to get your page speed up or Google's going to smack you.
Yeah. And I thought the exact match domain system was an interesting one, because it's actually a confession. That was actually Google saying, we do give some credit to exact match domains, and we have a system to make sure that we don't give too much credit to exact match domains. But the fact that they're giving some credit, or any credit at all, to exact match domains was a very telling confession.
Yeah, I mean, but we've seen this with sort of the double talk from Google in the past, where you'll sit there and say, hey, we do not have anything which evaluates exact match domain, which may be true, but they may have something that evaluates, for example, keyword in the URL, which would include the domain. So while it's not, a direct factor, it is still a factor, and we've seen examples of that over time. So,
yeah. So, Clint, have you seen that list of systems?
I did. I actually just got off a presentation from Kevin Indig. He was talking and going down that list, and it was interesting hearing his insights. Core Web Vitals, for example, he was one of the few that wasn't telling people to run out and delete half their websites, and he acknowledged that that wasn't a really a factor for rankings, etc. What else did he cover? He went over like Panda and Penguin and how that changed. It was nice hearing him kind of not parrot stuff, and then he also acknowledged that he was giving out bad advice about the exact match domain thing as a matter of fact, because I mean it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the search results and see how they're dominating, right?
Yep.
And so now I think it's more of an ability for them because they want to be Google parrots, because their potential customers or enterprise are looking at Google Talk and Google Speak, and so they have to say almost to this point, oh no, exact match isn't a ranking factor, don't do it, because Google was saying it, or the Google mouthpiece spokesperson line was saying it, and that just kind of perpetuated that myth, which is, I mean, it's kind of weird because again, we can just go and look in pretty much any search result and see that exact match is playing a big part.
Yeah. And earlier when we were talking about the state of Google in this Q4, we should have pulled in Carolyn. Carolyn, what's going on with Googlebot?
Oh, sorry, trying to find the mute button. It's this is the first time I've been tracking the bot activity during this week. So it certainly looks lower than normal. And I also noted they're delaying the coverage updates, like what they say is in there. So I did look at the same week last year, and Thursday last year, it was like a big high number according to the old scale, of SEMrush. So yeah, I would say that there's definitely slowness built in just by slowing them down.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that. I mean, the big worry would be, last minute assaults on the index where people try to flood it with, offers and short-lived black hat churn and burn type of activity. So it makes sense that Google would slow that system down so that those tactics would miss their mark for Black Friday and not impact legitimate stores who have been ready and in place for a while. So yeah, that kind of meets expectation. But I mean, it doesn't sound like, everything is shut down and shut off though. Slow is okay, but having people like fall out of the rankings and big box, dominating the top of SERP, and that's the type of thing I was expecting to see. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So I'll just have, like I say, a bigger data set to look at.
Yep. All right, let's see. We have some questions here, and if you have questions, please do ask them or topics. So the first one is how to rank a medium competition affiliate niche site. Please answer. Well,
build links to it, optimize your content, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, I wholly agree. I got a new domain on October 25th, and I did on page to it, and I got some backlinks to it. And by November 18th, it was number 2 in Google. So, it takes a little bit of time to pull it off, but if you know what you're doing, you can usually do it in under a month. And if it's not working, then you need to reevaluate your methods and think about what it is you're neglecting or not doing right. And usually to do that, you have to challenge your beliefs. Usually there's something in your belief system that you can't get past, and that thing is keeping you locked in failure. And so I've seen it before where people are afraid to use their keywords, where people are afraid to build links, oh no, I can't do that. Somebody on Signals Lab said that I'd get, punished if I did that. And, there's something, if it's not working for you, there's something about what you're doing in your belief system that's preventing you from learning what works. And so reevaluate and challenge your beliefs. Think about the things you haven't been doing. Think about the things you've been purposefully neglecting. And ask yourself if those beliefs that block you from those things are true. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I like the think the unthinkable is kind of the piece, because I listen to people all the time where they'll sit there and say, hey, I'm not ranking and my content is better than everybody else, ahead of me. I'm like, based on what metric, and how do you know that metric is the one that Google utilizes to rank things? A lot of times when people talk about the quality of their content, it's unfathomable to them that lorem ipsum could possibly beat them. And yet we know that it's possible to, beat quality content with just straight lorem ipsum, text. Other people, spend their days like, I've got the fastest site out there. Why am I not number one? I'm like, well, who told you site speed was, the dominant ranking factor? Or, I've got people that are terrified to have an anchor text with their exact match keyword in the anchor, one anchor, let alone, the thousands or whatever else that, other people are afraid of. So that's usually, you're right. When I find people that are doing it, is they've locked into something that is how the algorithm works. It's really not how it works. And it's unthinkable that it could work any other way. And that's where the problem is. If they're not, willing to challenge those beliefs, or, look at some data, or figure out, how that person who's ranking number one is doing X and getting away with it. It's like, they're not getting away with it. That is the algorithm. It's those kind of problems there. So I'm wholeheartedly in support of your assertion that it's belief system based, because for a medium term keyword, it's not difficult to rank it fairly quickly. And we're not talking about the stuff that you're doing is not Ted Black Hat, you fired up the old Ted PBN and pointed it, and that's how you rank so quickly. You're doing it with, minimal links and, tuned content.
Yeah. I'll give you the recipe right out of the door here. Tune it 1% more than people on page 1 for keyword density. Make sure you have all of your relevant entities. Get a press release, and make sure that you have a good diversity of ranking factors. Go to topseofactors.com to see a list. It's free. You just got to visit a URL, and we'll show you thousands of factors that are important right now. And yeah, that's effectively what I did to get number 2 in under a month. And that was a medium term, and you should be able to knock those out of the park as an SEO. Like, Clint would look at those and go, that's not hard. Do a hard one. And so these shouldn't be hard. You should have a recipe that just kind of works that well most of the time.
I don't think his answer was being snarky either, because a lot of people interpreted that as being snarky, just saying, hey, go optimize your page, build some links, rinse, repeat. The truth is that most people, when they optimize their page, aren't optimizing their page, in alignment with the algorithm. They're aligning it, to a belief system. And the links piece, links terrify people still to this day. People think that Google's so smart you don't need links. And even John Mueller's assertion that he thinks in the future that links will play a less or diminished role in the algorithm, while that may be true eventually, it's not true today. And it doesn't mean it's going to be true, January 1st either, because Google doesn't move that fast. So
yeah, we have a question: anchor text to the money page when doing the press release exact match. If it's small enough, if it's small enough, yeah, that's probably fine. If you do more than one, you start to think that you need to vary the anchor text. But there's no reason to do a black hat press release. Just make sure it's a real announcement for the website. There are many ways to do real announcements that people will find interesting and useful. So make a real press release. You want it to be on topic for your keyword that you're trying to rank for, but you don't want it to be so well tuned that it outranks your pages, because they're going to be on some pretty authority sites. So should be relevant but not optimized, and that's all you need to do. Let's see. Are there any on-page optimizations that you would apply to e-commerce product pages, but not to, say, pages with informational content? Well, that's an interesting exclusion, because I would generally try to tune e-commerce pages as well and as efficiently as I possibly can. And I don't know that there are factors that I would use on one but never use on the other. And so I think it's one governing system for all of it. But I can say this much about SEO in general, and with specific focus on e-commerce, is that you want to rank your page for one keyword well. You find the best keyword a page should be targeting for targeted traffic to that e-com page, and you want to rank well for that one keyword. And by doing that, that is the cost of entry to play a game that benefits e-com very well, which is then going after broad match search traffic. So when you hear people saying, oh, I rank for 1,000 keywords from one page, they're not ranking for, baseball and Seattle plumber and apple pie and yoga pants. They're not ranking for 1,000 keywords like that. They're ranking for 1,000 keywords like hummingbird feeder, glass hummingbird feeder food, best hummingbird feeder. They're very closely related keywords. But the way you play that game is you rank really well for one target keyword. And depending upon what that target keyword is, you can simply mention closely related terms and draw broad match organic traffic to the page. So step one, rank well for a target keyword. So one keyword, one page SEO. Step two is then expand keyword reach by mentioning closely related terms on the page. And doing that, you can get a pretty big boost to organic traffic from search. Now, it doesn't increase your rankings. You have to be watching organic traffic. What it does is it increases organic traffic to the page. And the example I've mentioned before in the past is wireless Xbox headset. And what I would do is I would target keywords that the retailer wouldn't normally target that are closely related, like best wireless headset for Call of Duty, best wireless headset for Minecraft. Started picking up all this uncaptured targeted traffic that all the online retailers miss. And that was fantastic. And I tried to see how far I could push it. So I started, trying to see, can I pick up unique Xbox gifts and best Xbox products? But those things were too topically distant. So you can only get so far topically from the keyword you rank for. So it has to be really close. And if you go too far, it stops working. What do you think, Lee?
I think I don't have a lot to add to that. I mean, I think you're spot on that.
Any thoughts, Clint?
Nope, right with you.
All right. So let's see. How do you go about local SEO, near me keywords? For the first 3 months with a new GMB account, what are the most effective ways apart from local citations, GMB, image SEO, localized content?
You guys are killing me. Absolutely killing me.
That's all right. Everybody's
How do you do
somewhere.
SEO, Ted?
Everybody is somewhere in their journey. Everybody is somewhere. And so,
I get that, but come on, let's pinpoint your questions there. That's what I would say. I mean, you're gonna get, and this is not a bash on Harish or Stefan or anything, but if you want detailed answers to actually help you, you need to ask detailed questions. When you ask broad questions to people, especially SEOs, you're gonna get 50 different ways to do it. Ask detailed questions and you'll get detailed answers that'll actually help you be successful.
Yeah.
That was the question you asked, Harish. I mean, that is so broad. How you better off just going to Amazon and buying the art of SEO and then trying that than asking that question to a bunch of people, because there's going to be so many different opinions and how to do it and what to spend your time on. And I mean, the local citations alone, I know a lot of people say don't do citations. Others are like, go citations all in. Other ones think citations are the holy grail. Others don't think that they matter all that much. I mean, you're just asking for trouble when you ask questions that broad. Be specific and pull specific answers out of the people you're getting you're questioning. That's my Thanksgiving public safety announcement.
I think that's a great one. And I think the 101 answer that you're probably fishing for is, make sure the business profile is complete, tune the page so the SEO on the page, the website page is important. Make sure that you have all of your categories and subcategories defined, because if you miss any of the little details in that, it usually affects your rankings and the amount of traffic that you get. And so a lot of people are killing it right now, just focusing on the fundamentals of local SEO. And I would look at those. It's really important to understand. Look at like the filters, like the sorts and filters, understand how those work and when they kick in, because people will search for best sushi and it will be ratings dependent when they do. But nobody is searching for best gas station or best Starbucks. You're not typically looking for those, so the ratings won't apply in those. So you'll see people saying that, ratings really matter. You'll see people saying ratings don't matter at all. And the answer is they're both right. You just have to look at what's going on and understand the fundamentals and make sure that you're populating all the data in the systems that matters and that you have the right tunings. Thoughts, Lee?
Before you jump in, Lee, I'm just going to say I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving week if I don't see any of you. But I got to take off. I'm going to go pick up my father-in-law at the airport.
Oh, well, have a great holiday, Clint. Thank you for joining.
Bye, everybody.
Here, Clint.
All right, Lee, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and combine this with a discussion we had earlier. For local, I do almost none of those things. Now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do those things or whatever, because there's a variety of ways of accomplishing, your local rankings. But I would challenge you to ask yourself, how do you know that the things that you're doing are actually moving the needle? Because one of the things that Ted has talked about for a while is minimum viable SEO, which is not all things that you do are worth doing. So you've got some things there that will move the needle a few feet, some of them that'll move them a few miles, and you don't want to be, doing the ones that are a lot of effort for, minimum payback. So look at your processes, go through and test them, analyze the results when you just do the one thing at a time, and see how much it moves the needle. Because again, a lot of the stuff that you're doing, I don't do because it doesn't move the needle at all or as much as everybody thinks it does.
All right, next question. Are topical clusters really so important? Well, the thing about that is there's a lot of different ways to use them. And so, depending upon the way you're using them, it could be really important or not important at all. I think that topical clusters are a great way of finding closely related keywords for expanding keyword reach. And that's probably the way I leverage them most effectively. There is some school of thought to think that it's a decent way to organize pages on a website and have relevant interlinking pages. It could be important to figuring out how to do tiered link building and diversity of anchor text, but I haven't tested those so much. So, I think it's an area that there still needs to be a lot more testing and understanding, and you'd have to figure out which tactics specifically you're challenging. What do you think, Lee?
I think you're correct on that. And I think, a lot of people, when they talk topical topics or topical clusters, that the definitions vary. And so, you have to define it, for us to have a conversation about how to use it and where it's appropriate and does it move the needle, we have to define it the same way. Because I've had people that argued against each other on things like this because their definitions were different, but their points of view were identical. So I think depending on how you define it as well, it comes into play with what you were talking about, Ted.
Yeah. So you'd have to get very specific about the claim, and then people could bring evidence to the table for or against it. But yeah, topical clusters all by itself, way too broad of a topic. Let's see. I have a client that uses Vimeo instead of YouTube to embed their original videos on their website. Is there anything special I need to know when optimizing the page with Vimeo embeds? Well, the common problem is it's easy to mess up permissions in Vimeo. And so you have to really test a lot more when you're working with Vimeo. Other than that, I think it's fine. One of the things you lose out, though, is YouTube has a lot of organic traffic for public videos, so you can get extra engagement if you're leveraging YouTube's massive amount of traffic as well. At times, not all the time, but at times, putting links in YouTube descriptions has helped me with indexing pages. So it's kind of a poor man's indexer when it's working. So there are some pros and cons to consider. But I don't see any problem with it. One of the reasons people go with Vimeo is it's kind of easier to get away from branding and YouTube's promotion, but there are ways to get around that using different video players. So really, yeah, you just gotta weigh the pros and cons. Any thoughts, Lee? You do a lot with
Yeah.
video.
No, I think that that you covered the important ones.
All right, so I just updated a page from Cora recommendations right on. It indexed and dropped about 8 places from the bottom of page 1 to page 2. How long should I leave it for Google to process? About 2 to 10 days. And depending upon what you changed, the nature of the changes could be important. So for example, if you did a bunch of LSI and entity tuning, you may have wrecked your keyword density. And so if you did that and you didn't go back and fix the keyword density, then that could explain the drop. And the cool thing is you go back and fix the keyword density after that thing, it usually goes right back to where it was, if not better. But if it's just a Google dance, like you changed too much and Google's reprocessing, then 2 to 10 days, it should bounce right back. Any thoughts, Lee?
No, I mean, it's usually, I look at a drop as good news, usually because it'll drop and bounce back up if it's a Google dance. If it drops and holds, all you did was you somehow inadvertently detuned an important factor like keyword density, and just run another core report and see, where you went awry and fix that, and you'll jump right back or even improve on where you were previously.
Yeah, and if it doesn't come back, go to my contact page. There's a link to book a meeting. We can take a look at it together after Thanksgiving and see if we can't figure out what's happening. All right, next question. Any top tips for image SEO apart from the well-known alt text, file name, etc.? Well, I know one thing that Google spends a lot of time processing is trying to make sure it's an original image. So, that would be, step one is get something that Google has never seen before and wouldn't recognize with AI image search capability. So if you're trying to recycle old images, then you have a few more hurdles to get through than if you're making something new. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I'm going to come back to this because it happens so often. It's like the well-known, image name and title tag. What specifically do you mean by that? Because what people do with their image names and alt text are not the same things that I'm doing with them. They're not the same things that others are doing with them. So those sort of things can be pushed further typically than, people think about it. So while it's great not to name your image like image.jpg, you don't have to just name it, Eiffel Tower. You can, Eiffel Tower from my Paris, France vacation.jpg, and then you've got more terms in that image name, and that helps.
All right, let's see. See how to rank a medium competition affiliate niche. Any tips? Well, I think we covered that one. With the website, multiple clusters. If one of the clusters is less strong, less backlinks, content isn't refreshed, do you think it would impact the other clusters, or it's page level that matters? I mean, you'd really have to test that. I mean, that's a really complex system to say we definitively know what caused what. I like to keep things simple, and so it depends, what exactly you're doing. And I'd say you'd have to really test it. You'd have to isolate the variables and test to come up with the best practice like that. Any thoughts, Lee?
Yeah, I'll just, a lot of times people overcomplicate this because you're right, it is a very complex system, and you're basically asking a question: does this page over here get affected by these things that are happening way over here? And the answer is yes, but Most of the time, what I find is that when you're looking at a single page, if you look at, the optimization of the page and the pages that are linking to it, both for, from a relevance standpoint, but also from an anchor text standpoint, you can solve 95% of your problems. So, consider the page, consider the keywords you're ranking for, look at what other pages, what their link profile, what their anchor text profile, what their content looks like. And that's it. Don't keep thinking that it's like 9 layers deep. I mean, it is, but that's generally, you don't have to go very far from the page to find the problem where you're at a competitive disadvantage.
Let's see, someone says, does methods like using CTR booster, sending manual clicks in the local map reviews move the needle in local SEO? Well, the latest research I've seen on that is really amazing, but it's not my research, so there's only so much I can say about it. But what I can do is point you in the right direction. The person you want to go check out is Mike Merlino, and his research into that exact topic is amazing. The one thing his research didn't talk about, though, and I'll mention that, is what happens when you stop. And so that we can discuss a little bit is, assuming cool things happen in there, what do you think happens when you stop? Lee?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on this one. I've got, I started testing all this stuff back in 2019, still actively, test and utilize stuff. And, some of the information that's out there is good information. Some of it's bad information. I'm not going to comment on, Mike's one way or the other. I think the thing that I will say about Mike's information is that he did show, this is what I did. These are the results that I got. And pretty much nobody else is doing that right now. So, his methods are, they seem to be working based on, the information that he's presenting. And that's a rarity. You see a lot of, like in everything else in SEO, a lot of claims about what CTR does or doesn't do, how it works or doesn't work, and very little data on it. And I know how complex it is because I've spent years testing this and I just don't talk about it publicly, but I would check out Mike's stuff.
Yeah, and I know Mike Merlino is planning on starting a YouTube channel soon, but I think right now you have to reach out to him on Facebook. But yeah, go talk to the professor. He knows that topic inside and out. Let's see. Anchor text to the money page. Oh no, we did that one already. All right, I think that was it, and we're coming up on the hour, so we have a good place to stop. So any final thoughts before the holiday, Lee?
No, I'm just I'm baffled where we haven't seen, Google play its hand. I would have expected, me being wrong about the end of October. Surely it happens before Black Friday. Doing it Thanksgiving Day doesn't count in my book because there's no time for anybody to react.
How's your training course doing?
It's doing well. We're in week 5 coming up. I think the next one that we have will be in February. I was forced to pick a date because some people wanted to get in and pay for next year's training this year, so they get the tax write-off. So if anybody's interested in doing that, just reach out to me and we can schedule a time to chat. But I think next year it's going to go to either 3 or 2 times. So
okay,
it's just hard to drive in the fourth quarter.
How can people find you?
Test at SEOtraining.com. We'll give you the information about the training, the cost, what's encompassed, and how to contact me. Just reach out to me on Skype. My Skype ID is Test It All.
Yeah, I was in this group this current round, and I did a brand new website, and yeah, I got it to number 2 in Google in under a month. So it's a pretty cool method. It's like really efficient, and so yeah, I like it a lot. there's a lot of testimonials from a lot of big name SEOs on that website, so check it out. It's pretty cool, and it's not for everyone, so if it's not for you, that's okay. You know, it's there if you need it. You know, it's kind of an advanced training for people who want to take what they're doing and make it a lot more efficient and profitable and time and cost effective. And so it really gets to the heart of the matter. But it's not the only way to rank a page. It's just a very elegant recipe, I think.
Cool.
So with that, everyone, we'll see you after the holiday. Don't forget all the Black Friday specials. I'm planning on looking at a lot of things from like press release deals and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff out there. And I hope you all have a happy, safe Thanksgiving. So take care, everyone.